as well, and particular thanks to Victoria and everybody here at the Met. We love the Met, they're always there for us, we do so much with you. But as Alison just said, Greater Manchester Culture was broadcast to 20 million homes around the world during the first lockdown and the second lockdown from here, wasn't it? Which is an amazing thing, and it just shows you the power of what we can do when we, really get our act together. And so thank you. We're really grateful to you, and we know you're doing more to help in the coming days. But to get to the three sort of announcements really, or three calls that I'm making this morning. The first is a call on everyone involved in the music industry in Greater Manchester to consider putting themselves forward for the Greater Manchester Music Commission. We're opening applications this morning for the Greater Manchester Music Commission, and as Eamon rightly said, it was proposed by Councillor David Greenhouse, so a very important part of David's legacy. I've always had the feeling since I became mayor, well, that actually goes before that I'm not sure we do enough to support the music industry here in Greater Manchester. If you think about it, alongside football, digital, materials, you could list a few more, but it's in that category of a very small number of industries that have truly global reach. And if you said to people around the world, if you mentioned the name Manchester or Greater Manchester, they would come straight back with examples of our incredible musical past. And yet, I've got to be honest and ask myself, and I think we all have to ask ourselves, do we do enough to support the industry, recognising that it's a very different world now to be trying to be making your way like James in a more more uncertain, unpredictable music world than it was when Greater Manchester hit the heights, if you say, back in the 80s and 90s. And I do think, for being a little bit self-critical, that we have a tendency to trade on past glories, and we're not doing enough, in my view, to bring on the new. Greater Manchester is always a place that brings on the new. We're never frightened of doing that, and we really need to do that for young musicians like James. But there's so many more working in Greater Manchester that they need our help, and we also got to recognise that this is an ecosystem that needs our help. It is the amazing festivals like Head for the Hills. It is the venues that are often quite precarious in terms of their own survival. It's the labels, it's the promoters, it's of course the artists themselves. There are so many people who work to support this musical ecosystem, and we really need to make sure that we're hearing their voice coming out of the pandemic. So the first call I'm making today is to anybody who's passionate about Greater Manchester music, involved in it in any way, you can put your name forward to be part of the first Greater Manchester Music Commission. And I make a promise that I will take a very close personal interest in its work and will support its recommendations as we help the industry come through this challenging time, not just because of the pandemic, but of course Brexit has changed the way in which musicians have to work. We have to understand all of those things and then help our industry, help Manchester music be where we always want it to be, the very top of the league when it comes to the global music league. That's where we want to be, and where we always have been, and where we want to be going forward. So that's the first thing I was going to say this morning. The second call is on the government, because it does relate to this point about supporting cultural institutions to recover. To be fair, they did respond to that request when they set up the Culture Recovery Fund in the middle of last year. And they are bringing forward, I think, the opportunity for organisations like the Met to bid for further funding, recognising that the challenges are still stretching forward. But I've heard that the deadlines that they're applying to the fund are just totally unrealistic. I think is it the end of this month that people have got to apply? 27th of August. I think people were given 3 weeks or something in the middle of the summer. Basically, that will mean that smaller cultural organisations will struggle to get an application in, whereas the big ones obviously will know what to do. So we're calling on the Culture Secretary to extend the deadline for the Culture Recovery Fund, certainly to the end of September, I would say, so that organisations like the Met, but so many more across Greater Manchester, get the opportunity to apply. So the final call is actually on the Greater Manchester public, and it's a call on them to get behind Bury as our first town of culture as we go into the sort of the most exciting phase of it now. It has been a bit of a journey, Eamon, hasn't it, over the last year and more. But you have put a fantastic programme together, as Alison rightly said. And actually this is something that can give us all a lift actually as we come through the period now, because it's going to go through the bank holiday weekend, isn't it, into early September, celebration of Victoria Wood and everything she meant to this town and to this area. But more than that, an amazing event, Burrs Live, which Head for the Hills are very much behind. And you're playing there. I think everyone will have. When we see some of that on the media tonight, I think there'll be some people wanting to come and see you, James. But there are other, really well-known acts on there. A very famous local son of Bury, Badly Drawn Boy, will be playing on Friday, the 3rd of September. That is going to be a fantastic occasion, no doubt about it. And then the night after, I'll be introducing from the stage. I think, if I'm right, Victoria. Don't want to over-promote myself, but I've heard I might have the chance to introduce everything from the stage at Burrs Live on the Saturday night. So I'm going to be there, and I'm just hoping that people in this borough, but actually beyond this borough, will take up the opportunity to be part of Greater Manchester's first town of culture. We wouldn't have planned it like this, would we? But the way it's actually turned out, we've got an amazing programme ahead of us at a time when I think people really would want to come together and kind of start to live life again. It's going to be fantastic, actually, Eamon. So well done to you and all of your colleagues here in the borough for bringing it through. But those are our 3 announcements today, everybody. That call on people to be part of the first Greater Manchester Music Commission, calling on the government to just give organisations a bit more time to apply. And I know lots of cultural organisations in Greater Manchester are struggling with getting this application in within August. So it's not the time to ask people to make an application, is it? So a bit more time, please, government, with that. We appreciate what you've done so far, but help all organisations to apply. And then that call on the great public of Greater Manchester to get behind Bury as they become our first town of culture. Well, they've been it for a while, but this is the pinnacle of it. And I think there's some fantastic acts and bands and musicians, young talent to be supported. So come on, people, get down and let's make Burrs Live a fantastic success. Thank you, everybody, for coming this morning. And that's it. I think we're going to go into